Superhero movies are all the norm, all the rage, and every time a superhero movie is released, it's always released by the two king powerhouses of the world, the Marvel Studios or the DC Studios. Even still in comic book history, DC and Marvel had ruled the world. Sure, we have underdogs like Boom Studio, Image, and other companies that come out. But to make their hand at superhero movies, one animation company had done a surprising job at making a bunch of underrated superhero films. From one that I talked about, Sky High, to an underrated one called The Rocketeer, and then to creating one of their very own best superhero team. One major in the one major film studio, one major animation company had turned their hands into making their own superhero team, and it's one of the best superhero movies ever made. I'm of course talking about. Greetings, kids and nerds, I'm Lady Universe and White Nerdy, and yes, indeed, we are talking about and reviewing The Incredibles. My God, man, I love this movie. Like, when people talk about superhero movies, hardly enough The Incredibles is mentioned, and is one of the best superhero movies basically out there ever made. I mean, even though, yes, it's 21 years old or 20 years old by this point, it's still one of the best superhero movies that you could ever ask for. And surprisingly enough, I've always wanted to review The Incredibles, except always put it off. Nah, baby, I'm gonna jump into this, and I'm going to review this thing because I recently rewatched The Incredibles and Incredibles 2 back to back as basically like a double feature, and I was like, I have to review these movies for everybody because I love Disney about 75% of this collection back here at Disney, and I just love talking about Disney animation. It's one of my favorite things ever to talk about because when I was in middle school, I actually did a report upon the history of basically animation, and Disney was the biggest thing that I talked about. So aside from that, it seems pretty obvious that The Incredibles are based off of this team right here. And I mean, it seems pretty obvious, but there's also something hidden deep within inside of The Incredibles, anyways, inside of this movie, and that's what we are going to all basically talk about. So get comfortable and get a snack, get drink, because we might be here for a while. So let me take you back to the past as we talk about and review Disney and Pixar's The Incredibles. I love that when this movie begins, it basically showcases the Bronze Age of superheroes, when superheroes were all the norm, all the rage, and everything. It is such a great thing. I do love the introduction of every single superhero within this movie, as every single one of them look just as great in every iconic costume that they wear in this. And at first, for all these superheroes, everything seems to be going well. They can save the world, they get married, they basically have their life in the palm of their hands, everything's working out for them. That is until people started to realize just how dangerous and how deadly superhero business can be, or how superheroes can be, so officially the government shut them down. Well, for the most part, they try to make their lives for the better and basically live the way that they are. But I do love how, for Mr. Incredible, he can't look past his golden age. As for him, moving on was the most impossible thing that he could have done, or at least try to do, as he still lives in the past surrounded by his memorabilia. But despite and through all of this, for these superheroes, they have to look for one thing that they now are parents, and they have to look toward their kids and teach them for the better. Which is better, in this, but something I'll have to talk about later on for Mr. Incredible's character, which is a great character arc for him. Um, Beforehand, they had to just worry about saving the people of the world and everything. Everybody that came across them, they, had to help them. But here, the film, and especially Brad Bird, the writer and director of this, really wanted to keyhorn the importance of family and why that these heroes who thought that saving the world was important now have to focus on their kids. And it's a wonderful thing because whenever anybody becomes a parent or a legal guardian, that kid that you create that kid that you hold in the palm of your hand becomes your world. That is your entire goddamn world just sitting right in the palm of your hands, and you want nothing to happen to them because if something does, you know that you're gonna fuck shit up and you're just going to destroy every single living being on the planet because of that. And I just really do love that. And also, which we'll talk about it a little bit more later, they even make fun of the sidekick trope, and it was hilarious. But more on that in a bit. But like I said, for Mr. Incredible, he really wanted to live back in his glory years, or basically the golden age of superheroes. And to which, whether it's by fate, accident, or design, he actually was able to do so. As he later on hired by a woman named Mirage in order to work with her for her benefactor or boss in order to test him on his superpowers. But Mr. Incredible soon finds out that that is not officially the case. He actually finds out that what their hidden intention is actually far more deeper. It's a trap! As Mr. Incredible later on finds out, yes, a lot of superheroes have been put up to the test, and a lot of them died with no rhyme or reason. And this is all part of some fanboy's delusion. As yes, that's right, Mr. Incredible's sidekick, Buddy, actually ends up becoming the main villain. As after all, when he was younger, all Buddy wanted to do was to help his favorite superhero, and also make the world a better place, but unfortunately he was tossed aside.
I'm the fan club. Brody. Buddy.
My name is Incrediboy.
Look, I've been nice. I've stood for photos, signed every scrap of paper you push.
Style favorite catchphrase is everything. I am your number one fan. Eat me, Buttercup.
As it was that moment where Buddy suddenly became what more than he should be, a supervillain, and especially somebody who lost their goddamn mind. As whether it was planned by Buddy or not, eventually Mr. Incredible's own family gets involved in it and gets themselves involved in the trouble that he himself got himself into. As after protecting their children, Mr. and Mrs. Incredible must know to trust their children now and to trust them with the duties and responsibilities of superheroes. As the family finally comes together and finally starts working together as a team and just taking down supervillain after supervillain, just as probably their parents intended. And also what's worse is that one of Buddy's plans, which was never going to work, was that he would save people from a giant robot that's destroying the city because that was his plan.
Like we really needed him to bust up the mechanical spider, right? Lame.
I agree with animated Kevin Smith. That was lame. Even if that was your intention, I'm not making fun of the writers, I'm making fun of the character's intention, by the way. Like, that was your plan? Kidnap your childhood hero for what he did to you, and then, now when we do that, turn yourself into a superhero so you can prove that you're better than the Gold Age superheroes. Buddy, Syndrome. You're a fucking idiot! And then he also dies. Seriously, Dead Meat should do a kill count on The Incredibles because while I was rewatching the original, there's a bunch of people that unintentionally die. Not kidding. Not kidding at all. It is insane how many people get killed in The Incredibles. And now it's the chance for The Incredible to show the world that superheroes should no longer be illegal, but instead should be honored and should be mentioned for the rest of their lives. As after they saved the day, that seemed to be the intention that they were going for, was to save the world and show the world that superheroes should no longer be illegal. As it's now time for superheroes to come out of the shadows and become part of the norm, no longer living in the fear and shadows of what may come, but become superheroes. Despite the political jargon that happens in The Incredibles, it still is one of the best movies ever made, and I really do like about it is the path they took with Bob Parr or Mr. Incredible. The fact that he is someone who basically kept living in the past until he realized what he is going to lose right at the front ground, as he kind of forgot his family is just as important as his golden years. And yet, he kind of pushed that aside for his own selfish intentions. But then when he knew that his family could get hurt, then he just had to realize that he needed them more than ever. At that moment was a lot like the Deadpool movies, as Deadpool is a character who can never die, but he always had to remember that there are characters that hang out with him that can unintentionally die themselves, and that he is in the foreground, meaning that he needs to treat them as important as he can, otherwise he just might lose them. Brad Bird's The Incredibles is a wonderful movie, and if you haven't seen it yet, you owe yourself into seeing this movie, as it is nothing short of amazing and fantastic, and also, in my own regards, a legendary film. And that's why my Funko Pop rating of The Incredibles is going to have to be a Green Ranger, as it's nothing short of that of legendary. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell icon to be notified every time you come and make an upload, and join me at Twitter with the link in the description down below. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Raging Devote, I've already know to keep getting on, and please do check out The Incredibles. It is amazing. It had great directing, great animation, a terrific voice cast. I mean, seriously, a really star-studded voice cast, and it just is one of the most amazing, underrated superhero movies that you could ever ask for. And eventually, almost 20 years later, it did get a sequel. And are we going to look at that sequel? Well, you have to wait until Monday. See you then.